What is going on, guys? It's another video from Hazmat Trucker, and today I just wanted to talk about the differences in hauling fuel on nights versus days. So night shift versus day shift. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the pros of each, and at the end, I'll discuss which one I prefer and why. But getting right into it, for those of you who don't know, I'm currently on nights at Gemini Motor Transport. I work 5:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. with Wednesday and Thursday off. And so honestly, it's not too bad. And for me, the biggest reason I like working nights is the lack of traffic and accidents that occur, especially when you're having to go load your trailer in a crowded metro area, which for us is Denver. So especially if we can do a local first or a Laramie run first and then go down to Denver, our traffic is so much lighter. Or if you're just working on the weekends, for me, Saturday or Sunday night generally isn't too bad, especially after about 10 o'clock. It's really quite a breeze to get through to your loading rack versus being held up for traffic or congestion or construction or some sort of accident that went on. Obviously, that can happen. Accidents can happen at any point. So, but generally speaking, it's a lot less frequent at night. But you do have to watch out for the drunks. Almost been hit a couple times now by drunks. So keep your head on a swivel, all right? Next best thing for me personally about nights is the minimal rack delays or lines that you have versus working day shifts. You know, there could be 5, 6, 7, 8 trucks ahead of you at the loading rack, and you're sitting there for, it's pretty common for some of the refineries we go to down in Denver to sit, 3, 4 hours before you're able to get loaded, even just for diesel, and gas could be worse. At night, you don't have those problems, generally speaking. The next closest problem you might have is running into an inventory shutdown where some of the refineries or the pipelines will shut down either on like the 31st or 30th end of the month, from like 11 to midnight, or maybe on just a regular basis from like 11:15 to midnight, something like that. But other than that, generally you're only going to have 1 or 2 trucks at most in front of you. If not, you're going to be able to pull straight forward into the bay and start loading, and it's just, you're able to go, and just honestly, it makes your day go by a lot faster. I will say that as a kind of subcategory of this pro is your days go by a lot faster on nights, at least it seems like. Next biggest thing is as far as your interactions with the DOT officers or scales, they're very minimal at night. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to have them at night. I still run into scales fairly frequently, but not nearly as often as I did on days. And so obviously check your paperwork anyways, make sure you're good to go, you're squared away, you've done your pre-trip, but it's still one less hassle that you'll have to deal with on a regular basis. So I consider that a pro personally. But right along with that is on night shift, you'll have minimal interactions with either your corporate work environment or your boss in general, because he's asleep. And not that, to be clear, pretty much in fuel hauling in general, you're going to have very minimal micromanagement. Not saying that it doesn't exist or there aren't companies out there that don't micromanage, because there are certainly micromanaging companies out there and bosses, but generally speaking, it's going to be minimized on top of the already minimized nature of fuel hauling, because you're on nights and most everybody is usually asleep. So I consider that a pro as well. And then the next best thing is whether you're on load pay or you're on hourly, generally speaking, you're getting extra money for working nights. So for anything that starts with the PM shift, at least here at Gemini Motor Transport, you're going to get paid an extra $1 per hour. And that was the same thing at Pilot too. I think Pilot might have actually been $1.50. Recently they changed that. But you get extra money for working on nights. Or even if you're on load pay, you're able to bang out more loads faster because you don't have those delays as consistently as the day shift drivers do. So you're technically going to be making more money even on load pay, and get your day done faster. And probably a last pro for me, especially since I live out here in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, I get to look up and see the stars, which, because we have so very little light pollution and just our cities are super small and spaced out, I get to look up and see, you know, all pretty much all the stars, and certainly out in the boonies, out in between cities, I can see strands of the Milky Way. That's how little light pollution we have, and it's actually pretty awesome. So I enjoy that part of the job as well. And so moving on to the pros of day shift. And really the first thing for me, it's easier to have a normal schedule when you're on days, because for me, I have a family, and for those of us who do have families, it's everybody else is generally speaking not a night shift schedule. So it's easier to work things in, like going to kids soccer practices or any other sports that they're involved with more consistently. And so that's probably the main thing I do miss about being on days, is just being more on the same schedule with my family. The next best thing for me about days is just obviously better visibility, especially in winter when you're coming into storms. On night shift, when you're just driving into a wall of snow, it's a lot different if you have at least some daylight with you to help not fatigue your eyes nearly as much, which is tied into the next point that I have about day shift. At least speaking for me, I don't get tired nearly as easily on day shift. I can do 14 hours more consistently without getting as tired as I could on night shift doing 14-hour days. So not that I volunteer for that, and that'll be a separate video about doing things like that and burnout. And probably the last biggest pro for me for day shift is when you go on vacation, you don't have to reset your sleep schedule for the most part, you know, because when I went on vacation this last July, I was obviously on nights, and so I had to get up at 7, 8 a.m. With my family to go do stuff during the day. And so I had to switch that back, which isn't super hard for me because I am naturally more of a night owl, but still, it's still having to reset your circadian rhythm, I believe it's called. And so it can be difficult to do for some people. So another consideration for me, and what I think is probably the best part, is you're not having to constantly flip back and forth for different things. With all that being said, personally for me, if it was just purely based on the working experience, I would probably stay on nights, especially if I didn't have a family, because you get that extra money, and it's not too difficult. It's just, I prefer just the general working experience. I think there's a few more pros than working on days for me specifically. But that being said, I would still long term like to be on a day shift, and I hope to get to a day shift here soon, as soon as I get that chance via seniority, just to make it easier on my family, and to be more involved with my family as well. So with all that being said, if you guys have a video you guys want me to do or talk about anything specific, just put it in the comment section down below. Or if you disagree with me, put it in the comment section down below as well. And if you like this video, please give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. God bless.